Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and we are back again with some of the editorial team. Some of us are out for different reasons, but I'm joined by the editorial team for our end of month podcast. So everyone, if you want to introduce yourself.
Michael, acting editor.
Amanda, feature writer.
Hi, Mamadou, senior reporter.
Hi, Darius. I'm the latest addition to the editorial team, investment reporter.
Okay, great. So March was mostly the month of the budget, and we did a budget podcast. So if you want to hear more from what the editorial team found or their opinions on the budget, listen to that spring budget podcast. So we're not going to mention that too much unless, there was anything you wanted to expand upon with that, guys. I don't know.
I think not. I think we've covered it quite extensively, and done it to death pretty much, as has every other financial publication I know.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do want to see all of our coverage, just go to the Money Marketing website and you guys can check that out. But let's start with Amanda. So for March, what was there anything that stood out for you?
Well, apart from I know we've just done the budget thing, but apart from that, I still hate the money purchase annual allowance, even though it's bigger. But I will move on from that. I'm not gonna sort of have another rant because I had a rant previously. But this time around, I'm gonna rant again about a different subject. To be honest, I will talk about my leader that's in the March edition, because in that, I'm arguing the case for compulsory financial education in primary school.
Yes.
Regular listeners will know I've already got kids in, both primary and secondary school. So it's something I've kind of been observing over the last few years. About the last few years. So I think this is an issue because when you start secondary school, you kind of more introduced to the sort of jargon, the academic jargon in all your subjects. Like picking up my kids' books, it's like, what is this? It's like a foreign language. And I just think if we leave financial education to that stage, then I think inevitably you're going to get the sort of jargon woven into that. And my argument in this leader was that if we start, doing it compulsory at primary school age, there's less of that jargon, so it's a nice clear foundation from which to start, and then you can build as you sort of go throughout school. But some people have said to me that it doesn't matter so much when they're so young. It kind of is more relevant when they're, about to leave school and, potentially earning their own money if they sort of leave school and get a job or whatever. It starts to become more relevant at that point. So, why bother early on? But I think that's much too late. And I think it could easily be woven into the stuff that they are taught now at primary school, because I don't know if it was when you were at primary school as well, but nowadays they sort of teach you how to count money, and if you have 10p and you spend 2p, how much have you got, and that sort of thing. I think you could branch out quite easily. So I think it's doable, but I do want to sort of come back to someone that commented on that story online. They said that there's research from the US that shows that financial education in schools just doesn't work, that it comes from the home. And that, if you come from a wealthy or educated background, your parents have got this in hand anyway, so you don't need it coming from the school. But and others that don't have that at home are just not really going to take it on board anyway. But, I don't know what anyone else thinks about that, but I was just thinking, well, if we kind of took that approach to everything that we teach in school, what would we teach our kids? Would we teach them anything? Because I'm certainly not an expert in art or whatever. So if they come home to me with, drawings and techniques, I don't have the foggiest. But does that mean that we don't teach art? Do we not teach, do you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
It's really interesting that they made that point about money, but I feel like in school, like in my mind, when you were saying all of that and people saying that it doesn't have any effect on them learning from such an early stage, they need it more when they're leaving. But like if I think about like one class that I did from like primary school, which was like food tech, like you'd start off just doing super simple things. And then I think as I got older going through school, we do more intricate recipes and adding more skills and techniques to what we were doing. But that was off of the basis of what I'd learned when I was like 8 or 9. I wasn't starting from scratch. I was starting from another basis. So in my mind, if you start by setting a curriculum that starts with the more simpler financial education jargon or techniques or whatever, and then you keep building, I think that is something that inherently you'll just be able to be like, oh, this is just building on what I learned when I was in year 6. And now that's how it would work in my mind. And like you said about it starting at home, my parents are scientists. Well, they're in the medical profession. So my love of writing and English wasn't inherent for either of them, but and it wasn't something that they could nurture apart from, taking me to the library and stuff like that. So I don't know how parents who don't have a background in finance or a background that is wealthy or have friends in their friendship circles who are accountants or financial advisors, like you won't really have anyone around you who can talk to you about that. But that's just my scattered thoughts on that. I don't know.
I agree with you totally, Kim. I couldn't agree with you more on that. But it's just this kind of, where's your evidence to say that it works? I was a little bit stumped because I think, research as a whole, you get me going on that, on a whole different sort of topic because, research has to be funded. Where's the money going to come from to even look at this, whether it's effective or not? Don't see it happening in this country at the moment. So, and we know stats can be proved to, show whatever you want really if you've got funding behind you. But maybe I'm being cynical. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can be just as cynical and say that maybe some people don't want people to be financially educated because it benefits some people if a certain class of people never learn how to better their finances, I guess. That's just my super cynical side. Was there anything else that stood out for you in March?
Yeah, sorry, rant over on that one. Yeah, I will try and.
I love a good rant, Amanda. So.
Okay. I looked at financial abuse. This is a serious subject now. I was looking, what how financial advisors can kind of deal with it if they suspect that there's financial abuse going on. And it's kind of an interesting one because, if you're confronted with it and you don't necessarily kind of know really what's going on, you might have a little inkling that something's not quite right. It's best probably to just kind of, keep your eyes and ears open, for any sort of, unusual withdrawals and, find out if there's anyone new in this person's life that's kind of like making financial decisions and stuff like that. Just sort of keep it quite low key and then sort of try to, speak to them about it rather than, rushing in. Because I think, if I suspected something was going on, I think I'd be like wanting to chomping at the bit to try and, you must get away from this person, But, I've been sort of speaking to people who know more about this stuff than I do. So the softly approach is kind of, the better way because half the time people don't really know that they're even being financial abused. There's a lot of manipulation going on there. And as a financial advisor, you're not necessarily going to know the whole story immediately. It's kind of like you can only sort of, do so much as well. Like you are a financial advisor at the end of the day and you can point them to charities and organisations and whatever. But, you can't kind of solve, all their life issues for them. If they've got other stuff going on, that's for them to kind of take on at some point, but just guide them, saying that. But I do want to say it's interesting speaking to advisors who not necessarily sort of having clients that have been financially abused, but there's things that, you look at and think, oh my God, this is just awful. Sheena Dockey, one of my financial advisors I speak to regularly, she's got a client who's not working, got a bad back, sort of suffers from terrible pain. And her husband, he works, he's got sort of quite a bit of money, but, thinks nothing of spending his money on expensive shirts for work, whereas he won't pay for a private scan for his wife. And that's not financial abuse, but it's not quite right, is it? So, it's just sort of listening to things and seeing if something like that could potentially escalate. But, knowing when to intervene and what to do, I suppose. So I thought that was quite an interesting one anyway.
I think that is technically financial abuse towards the wife if he's the one who kind of has control over the money and she has no say in the spending. I think that is like in outside of like financial advice and stuff. I think in a relationship that is financial abuse. But again, you can't really address that because that's between the two of them. But you can probably just make her see
exactly
that it's not right. And then see if she needs to take certain steps, point her in the right direction, that kind of thing.
That's the thing, is this whole thing in marriage, isn't it? You don't necessarily have to be the earner. I'm sure she does things for the husband that, he should at least, my husband, I iron shirts, but then, I'm not going to do it for nothing. If like the kids need something, then, I'm going to go to him and say, you need to pay for this, that and the other, because I can't do it on my own. So it's fair, isn't it? But if it's, an imbalance of power, I think that's what we're getting at here.
Exactly. You need equity in a relationship as well as equality. So, but those are all very interesting topics that I could talk about forever. But I think we should probably move on to Mamadou. Was there anything for you that stood out in March that you covered?
In March, yes, I think so. I covered this pension tracing and proposition. I think that sounds very interesting. I think with all this AI-led and kind of like tech-driven, searches. I think for them to come up with this, I think this was innovative. I think I'm all in for pension tracing. So
so what is it exactly? Sorry,
it's some kind of like an AI-led pension tracing. Tracing, giving people a chance to kind of like trace lost pension pots.
Oh, okay. So you can just type in like your name, where you used to work, kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Check your stuff. But that would be driven by AI. So I think with AI, it's faster, it's cheaper. So that's the plan. They're planning to launch this year. So I thought that was like a very good story we kind of carried. And I spoke to the CEO of Aviva Life, UK and Ireland, Doug Brown. Yes, according to Doug Brown, this would be market leading, proposition.
Yeah, so, it sounds great.
Yeah, game changer. With all this, chat GPT and that kind of stuff. So to see big firms like Aviva, taking down this road. I think that's kind of interesting. And they have kind of like 6 million customers. So I think, that's a very large amount of people they will be able to help.
Who definitely have like pensions all over. For me, I think it would. Well, now I have, my mum was always one of those people, when you used to get letters, obviously everything's digital now, but when you used to get letters from like your pension providers and stuff, my mum would make me keep all that stuff in a folder from when I got my first job when I was 17. Oh, wow. So when the ability to move your pension pots into one place happened, I just was able to kind of refer back to those letters, find my, you need like a number, right? Like a reference number for your account. And then from there, I was able to transfer everything in from when I was young into one place. But I can only imagine for someone who's been working for 30, 40 years, how many of those letters they might have misplaced if they've moved, whatever. So having an AI, the ability just to type in your information and an AI to be like, oh, this is where your pension pots are. And then you can just transfer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very good point. And then, I mean, you seem very, very, very well organized. I mean, Kim, to have that folder.
It's perks of having a Zimbabwean mom. Very organized Zimbabwean mom. She's very
lucky.
She's taught me some things that I had no choice but to learn. So yeah, it turned out in my favor. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover?
Well, yeah, I mean the Vanguard stuff also, but because of, I covered it for the mic, so maybe I can
talk about it later.
Exactly. When talk about it, the April issue.
Okay. We'll put a pin in it for now. Darius, as our new member, I think you've had enough time to have written quite a few stories. Was there anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, thanks, Kim. I would say consumer duty is sort of a very big trend or theme, as that I've started on. That I've sort of coming
to. It's looming over everyone.
Yeah, and obviously the deadline is getting closer. The 31st of July isn't that far away. But no, one thing that I've an article I reported on, I thought was surprised me, is that 73% of advisors are still not ready for it. And they broke it down that in that 73%, 65% of advisors were just behind and worked to comply with the rules, and 8% hadn't even started yet. And I thought, considering it's such a big topic within the industry, and it's getting a lot of focus for relevant reasons, I was just sort of quite surprised by the number, really, because it's a big deal when the 8% hadn't even started yet. I was like, oh yes. And obviously the 65 were behind, and it was just sort of kind of startling, I thought.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't started. It gives me the feeling of some of those students at university who would wait until the last week before the dissertation needed to be handed in to be like, okay, now I have to do, so it feels like there's an element of that, or maybe they just they just don't think it's going to have that big of an effect on their processes or the way that they deal with their clients. Or maybe they feel like they're already doing everything that is necessary. So it will be interesting to see where all of those people who've said that they haven't done anything, or they're not ready, to see where they fall after the deadline. It'll be cool to see what the pickup is. You also did your first weekend essay. How did that go?
I did, yeah. It was good. It was something I'm not really used to, focusing on my own opinion or so forth. But yeah, and that was interesting. I tried it because I had a role where I focused on crypto investments prior to money marketing. I tried to infuse the two between crypto advisors and bring them together. And I had an interview with CEO of Rubicon Crypto, which is he was based in the US, and he was just talking about how his model sort of established and based on the idea that advisors will sort of pick up or integrate crypto, down the line. That's the idea is that they're sort of predicting that will happen. And so, it was a sort of interest that, there was a, genuine sort of cross there on the Venn diagram of how that, they're related and so forth. And he said, effectively, wealthier clients won't actually sort of get into crypto until their advisor actually starts, backing it as a credible asset, saying that, I think it is worth looking into whatever cryptocurrency, and that's when they start to truly pick it up and get into it.
Yeah. I think because a lot of advisors are quite cynical about crypto, and maybe rightly so, because there are so many, apart from Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's so many crap coins out there that are just cash grabs for the people who are creating them. And it's quite a volatile market right now. So I think maybe once that it stabilizes a little bit and more people are starting to use crypto for like everyday purchases, maybe potentially, then, when we move to Web3 and we're all decentralized and the blockchain and all of that, when that is fully in place, I think maybe advisors will be more comfortable to do that. But, that's just our forward thinking future, hopefully. Cool. So finally, Mike, what stood out for you in March?
For me, well, apart from the budget,
yeah, you were all over the budget.
Yeah,
and all the changes that entailed for pensions as our pension guy.
Yeah, but it just struck me though. Just after I said I wouldn't talk about it, but I just want to remark is that just after sort of all the years of covering it. And it kind of being my specialism, it's just still interesting how even now, I just kind of know the tip of the iceberg of it. There's just so much to it, and just how one change, it's just very, very technical, and it's just very, very hard to understand and communicate these changes in plain English. So God knows what hope there is for the general public, and they're big sums of money as well. So that you can accumulate over your lifetime. So that was that from a kind of news perspective. That's what stood out to me. I think from a MAG perspective for March, I know she's not here, but I wanted to mention the leader Lois did on artificial intelligence, coming for all of us. And ChatGPT, which is referenced, which is very popular.
Just so that all our listeners know, Mike is not a fan, or he's a skeptic of it. You just after a while, it just sort of you become I guess a lot more skeptical as you age, and believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. That's what I say about anything now. And then the other thing which was interesting was that she had a really good Emma Meets with EQ Investors CEO Sophie Kennedy, which is interesting, which is about fostering an inclusive environment in kind of financial services and the financial advice space, which is very well done and has very, very lovely pictures, which is always great because it's important to remember that we do the print magazine have those visuals, and it's really nice to have a sit down long form interview with a photographer that comes along, and you have that human interest and character and narrative. And also I wanted to mention some of the pieces that Maria Merrick's our great features editor poured out for us for the March issue. One really interesting piece that she commissioned was from Emma Thompson, who was talking about protection in the advice space for women, which is well worth a read. And also Rachel Avahi, who talked about the WP's ideas for consolidating small pension pots. She wasn't impressed by that. So that was another piece I wanted to put out as well that really struck me, for the that was in the March issue. And I just wanted to mention those, those pieces and topics, members of the team. Yeah, well, obviously we missed Maria and Lois, but hopefully we'll be able to all get together for our April end of month podcast. So while we're talking about the April issue, shall we kind of get a little sneak peek into that? Who wrote the cover for the April issue?
It's me.
Yeah. And you mentioned something to do with Vanguard?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, Vanguard. Earlier this month, Vanguard, dropped like a bombshell. When they announced that they're closing their locus advice proposition.
Right.
And that's kind of like sent shockwaves, because I think Vanguard was seen as the wealth firm, that could make this proposition work. Advice. Because, that was the way Vanguard pitched that proposition that it will help close the advice gap.
Yeah.
So when they announced that that they were ditching that advice service, the sector just there was kind of like divided opinion. Yeah, some were happy and some were kind of like sad. Sad to see it go.
Yeah.
So the cover kind of like delve deeper. It went to low cost advice. Asking whether there is any chance that's this will survive.
Yeah.
It kind of like low cost position. Because the whole idea of this advice gap has been going on for a long time. So so it's like which farm will step in. But you still have some farms who kind of like still want to go on with with hybrid advice.
Okay.
So the cover, as I said, without giving much away, kind of like discuss the Vanguard issue. Ask relevant experts, get opinion. I would say find time and read. Yeah, that's a well-written piece.
Okay, well, definitely. Of course, it's going to be well written. It's going to be interesting to read and delve more. I'm not going to obviously ask for too much on why people are happy and sad. We can delve more into that at our next end of month podcast. But it sounds like a really interesting thing. It sounds like maybe they basically were like, well, nope, we can't close the advice gap. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly so. And then because of the Vanguard, as I said, service was kind of like was seen as a threat by some advisors. It was trying to kind of like Vanguard was trying to undercut them. So so when this thing happened, and there was kind of like a bit of a
uproar.
Right, yeah. Indeed. Okay. And people who believe that advice is kind of like a lottery, said, actually, so that it's very hard to close the advice gap. It's very hard, So many
sounds factors.
So many factors, so.
Of course, yeah, definitely.
Check the piece,
Yeah, definitely. Everyone needs to read it for sure. What about you, Darius? Is there anything? Have you written anything for the April issue?
Yeah. I will do. Yeah. I'll be writing a leader. So yeah, I'm.
That will probably go in the May issue, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, so you mean just for a piece that's written out? Sorry.
Yeah. The mag that's gone to press.
So I was thinking I thought you say March. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I wrote sorry about that. I wrote an ESG in Focus piece for the April issue. Yeah. Regarding the FCA trying to clamp down on greenwashing. They could start specifically with asset managers and funds, and ideally, if it all goes to plan, sort of give it a wider sort of spread across the economy and so forth. So yeah, that's what my piece was about. Just speaking to people and what they thought, how the reaction to it, and if it was moving in the right direction or not, or what it should amend to it. And recently, actually, Michael, I believe it was you, but they've actually announced amendment to that the ESG labels, that they're refining specific criteria of it after hearing back from consultation closed.
They're going to delay the rules, implementing them from Q2 to Q3. And they're relaxing them a little bit.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out for your first in Focus. Hopefully everyone will enjoy it. Great. Amanda, is there anything? Well, you definitely have written quite a few things for the April issue, but which ones would you like to give us a little sneak peek about?
The main one is probably should pension tax relief used to help fund care costs? We've all talked about care costs before, a massive issue it is. But it's a proposal that the ABI have come up with. Because currently, if you make a withdrawal, you are charged at your marginal tax rate. But they've proposed that if you make a withdrawal and use it to pay for care, could you have this at tax-free or at least at a preferential rate? It sounds a great idea, and I personally like it. But people have told me it's not as easy as it sounds. There are a few practical considerations. So I won't say any more about those. Read the article to find out.
Yeah, it's great. And finally, Mike, is there anything in the April issue you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, one of them was Nick Jacuti wrote a piece about, again, so coming back to pensions, about the government's claim that abolishing the lifetime allowance will sort of help retain or recruit NHS staff at the top end. And he basically says that that's rubbish. That won't work. And he goes into some figures about that, which is interesting. So that was a particular thing. And also the Emma meets with
Ruth
Hancock. Yeah, that's well worth a read as well.
Yeah, Lois out and about meeting all these very important people. But yeah, well, hopefully we'll have her on next time to further go into those things when we do our end of month for April. But yeah, thank you guys so much for making it and talking to me about what you guys covered in March and for the April issue. I really enjoyed chatting with you. And Mamadou, I was going to say happy Ramadan, but I don't know if do you say happy Ramadan?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay.
Ramadan Kareem.
Oh, okay. So Ramadan Kareem. Oh my God. Ramadan Kareem. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You are braver than anyone I know, because it is a real triumph to do that while also, doing your normal life and writing all of these awesome stories that you put out.
Oh, good. Thanks. Thank you very much for that, Kim. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. You just do it.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, thank you guys so much for speaking with me. And I look forward to speaking to you at the end of the month.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.